might be more than she could manage. It had been 7 years since Lucas, ever the gentleman, had asked Maggie to her senior prom. He hadn't been interested in anyone else, and since no one had asked her, going together made sense. Maggie had been elated. She'd found a silky champagne-colored dress that complemented her fair skin and chestnut hair. She'd even gone to Aunt Lucy's salon for hair and makeup help. She'd wanted to look feminine and pretty enough for him to take note. She wanted him to think of her as more than a buddy. At the end of the night, Lucas had pulled her in for a tight hug that had melted her insides. And then he'd broken her heart. "I'm so glad you and Dan are cousins," he'd said. "I'd have never guessed I could be best friends with a girl if you two hadn't always been hanging around. You're not even like a real girl." Maggie had covered her disappointment with a laugh. "If I weren't a real girl, I wouldn't be in this dress or these heels." She waved her hands over the silky gown that had been meant to catch his eye, and the dreadful shoes killing her feet. "Of course you are," he said, "and you look really nice. But I like you better in hiking boots than heels. Those just look weird on you." Her expression must have faltered just enough to tell him he'd said the wrong thing. "Sorry, Megs, but you know what I mean." "Yeah, sure. I know what you mean." She'd quickly agreed, and he'd looked relieved. A few minutes later, behind her closed bedroom door, she'd thrown the dress and heels into the back corner of her closet and cried herself to sleep. For years, Maggie had buried her feelings, afraid of spoiling the closeness the three friends had shared. She'd worked alongside Lucas and Dan during the summers, as the three of them had started wild country hiking tours. She'd smiled through her devastation as she'd congratulated Lucas on his engagement to Erica, a woman in his accounting program at Arizona State, and then pretended to be sad for him when Erica got a job in Los Angeles and broke it off. Maggie was a pro at pretending to be one of the guys, at never showing any sign that beneath their friendship was a girl who'd spent years hoping that someday Lucas would come to his senses and realize that they were perfect for each other. "Megs, did you hear me?" Lucas's voice broke into her memories. "Oh, sorry, what did you say?" Maggie asked, hoping she wasn't blushing. "Just asked if you needed anything when I go gas up the bus." "Oh, no thanks. I think we're good." "Alrighty then. I'll see you bright and early. Actually, it's not bright at 4 a.m. It'll only be early." Maggie watched him walk out to the bus. Why couldn't she just move on? 2. "Ladies and gents, welcome to the adventure bus," Lucas said into the hand mic. The adventure bus was a short school bus they'd bought from a school district in southern Utah 2 years earlier. They'd removed the back 2 seats to make room for gear and painted it white with wild country hiking tours in dark green along each side. After each trip, they handed out Sharpies to their guests, who signed the bus, marking the completion of their wild country experience. Dim lights gave the inside of the bus a glow and made it possible to see each other. A few passengers smiled. For others, it was too early to respond. "In about 2 hours, we'll be watching the sunrise at the trailhead of one of the most stunning places on Earth. Since we have a little while before we get there, we'd like to take a few minutes to get acquainted with each other. After that, we'll have a short safety briefing. Then, we'll let you catch a little power nap. Since everyone in your group already knows each other, I'll tell you a little bit about Maggie and me, and you can tell us about you. Hopefully, within an hour, we'll be best mates." From the driver's seat, Maggie rolled her eyes. She'd forgotten how much Lucas played up the rugged Australian outdoorsman for the tourists. Lucas noticed her expression from across the bus and grinned. Maggie loved that smile, especially when it was directed at her, even though sometimes it felt like it was wringing her heart out. "Since we want our lovely driver to focus on the road, I'll..."